Israel says it has arrested 19 members of the Palestinian group Islamic Jihad in raids across the West Bank after carrying out airstrikes against targets in Gaza yesterday. The raids killed 10 Palestinians, including a commander of Islamic Jihad and a child. In retaliation, Islamic Jihad militants fired dozens of rockets into Israel from Gaza. Azadeh Mashiri reports.
Gaza's sky lights up as Israel's military launches successive airstrikes. This is the footage they released of the attack. It lasted hours and claimed several lives, including that of a top military commander of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, a militant group also known as the PIJ.
Israel carried out a precise counter-terror operation against an immediate threat. Our fight is not with the people of Gaza. Islamic Jihad is an Iranian proxy that wants to destroy the state of Israel and kill innocent Israelis.
In response, the militant group fired back more than 100 rockets towards Israel, most of them hitting its Iron Dome missile shield. Sirens sounded out across the streets, with Israelis seeking shelter. Hamas, which governs the Palestinian territory, condemned the strikes on Gaza.
The occupation has initiated a crime in the middle of the day by targeting a residential building while the people were inside on a weekend and targeting a resistance leader. The crime occurred despite all our communication through mediators. The occupation must pay the price for this crime.
Israel's airstrikes reportedly killed civilians as well, with Gaza's local health officials saying a young girl was among the dead.
How is it this child's fault? She was dreaming of going to kindergarten and asked her father for a school bag and clothes. What has she done wrong? This innocent child.
Thousands of Palestinians carried the body of the dead commander after one of the most serious outbreaks of violence in Gaza in over a year. Israel says theirs was a preemptive move after they arrested one of the group's top leaders earlier this week and received days of threats. Now, Hamas says armed groups are united in battle. Azadeh Mashiri, BBC News.
Well, for the latest on those clashes, I've been talking to our Middle East correspondent, Yolande Knell.
There has been this rocket fire continuing through the night. We're now hearing from the Israeli military that more than 190 rockets were launched altogether, but many did not enter Israeli territory and most were intercepted by Israeli air defense. The rocket fire began after the funeral of that Islamic Jihad commander who was killed in an Israeli airstrike. And then it's been mainly the villages and towns which are close to the Gaza Strip, the Israeli villages and towns that have been affected, where the warning sirens have been repeatedly going off. We know that the Israeli military says it's targeted at least 30 sites inside Gaza, which it says were associated with Islamic Jihad. But crucially, you're right, at the moment, because Hamas, despite issuing very strong statements about what it said was the united front by the resistance groups in Gaza, it's got a similar ideology to Islamic Jihad, but it often has more practical considerations because it governs the Gaza Strip. And crucially, at the moment, we're not hearing about Hamas rockets being fired, and that could be that could enable some room for negotiations if there's a desire for this not to escalate. We know that Egypt, a traditional go-between, is already speaking to Israel and the groups in Gaza.
Yolande Knell in Jerusalem there.